Now, isn't this beautiful? Check this out. 6:30 a.m. and I'm on my way to site to go and meet Village Timber Company. We're going to be talking to Jo Brom, founder and owner, and one of the most respected timber flooring installers in the Western Cape, and if not the country. He's like just one of those companies that really takes time to deliver excellence on every level. And one of them is arriving on site at 8 a.m. no matter where the job may be.
You know, you've been in the industry for many years, and you've always been an inspiration with regards to your attitude towards work and business and how you manage your team. Tell me a little bit more about like your company and like you got a certain level of clientele that you've developed over the years, and how have you managed to do this?
Primarily, our focus has really been to deliver quality and high-end timber products. So solid wood floors are one of those things, and one of the few spaces we find that we can still put our hands onto real wood and build products out of real timber rather than chipboard and superwood and that sort of thing. And it, you know, for me, timber floor has good value because it's extreme durability. But I think for a lot of my clients, it might be because of the difficulty of achieving that sort of product. There just simply aren't a lot of people that can deliver a solid herringbone floor, for example, or a 220 wide fresh solid French oak floor, or even any of the high-end engineered boards. You really need to understand the technicalities of that. And we've all heard these horror stories of floors that go wrong, and there's such a fine line between sort of a floor that's going to deliver and one that's just going to fall to pieces. And I think you can't trade on luck with floors. You see guys all the time that get it right 2 or 3 times and they think, this is it, I'm a top-end floor installer. And it's just that 4th or 5th job that's going to come and trip them up, and in a really big way. One's got to really, and that's where I guess we've made our name, is that we just won't let price push the quality of the product out the window to such a degree that value is just lost in time.
Where do you find your team? How do you nurture them through the ranks, or like, what's your story?
Well, not to give away too many secrets, but you know, the best quality floor fitters are all cabinet makers, and really that's again has to do with understanding how solid wood works.
Yes.
And then secondly, adding another layer of understanding how floors work. And I think that's, when I started doing floors, I knew a lot about woodwork, but I had no inkling of how much more there was to learn when you take it to a space of just doing floors. It just seemed to me to be another bit of woodwork, but it's a space entirely on its own, and there's a set of very rigid processes one has to follow when you're doing the floor. And I think that's really been the key to us having quality installations, and floor mechanics that know what they're doing is really sticking.
Floor mechanics, I love that.
Well,
yeah,
it's an American term, but it is what it boils down to, because it's much like a mechanic. You're not there to reinvent the wheel, you're there to provide a service. And that's really been our focus in terms of training, has been to understand how we deliver a service and the processes that go with that, and not deviating from that. It's guys that make it as a floor fitter are guys that can follow a process day in and day out, board after board, 1,000, 10,000 squares. That's you really need a mentality that's suited to that sort of approach.
And for these guys who, they think they go and they steal with their eyes and they think they know how to install a floor, you touched on that with the guys, they do 2 or 3 floors and then something goes wrong. You've obviously seen a lot of that.
Well, I mean, we all have, in a way. Anyone in the flooring industry has come across these sort of scenarios because anyone can do 90% of the floor laying job. It's the 10% that makes all the difference. And each home is a custom build. So each home has its own set of conditions, and that's really where the knowledge comes in.
That bank of knowledge and experience.
Absolutely, because each job's got to be tweaked just that little bit to suit the particular home that you're fitting in. So I mean, here we're on a site that's got a house that's 100 years old. There's a whole bunch of factors that make it totally different to fitting in a brand new home in Camps Bay.
I'm sure.
And that, understanding what those variations are only amounts to probably 5% in this particular job variation. But if you don't know that, you can end up with a floor that's just unusable.
So the team that you nurture and that you pull in, they have skill that they develop over a period of time. In your professional opinion, we don't really have apprenticeship here in South Africa or in Africa. How do you get around that?
It's a case of speaking and educating people through the job. So every job will pull our team in, we'll tell them what the challenge of that particular job is, what we're going to do to circumvent the particular problems and deal with the particular setup. And then you just repeat that 10,000 times. And that's really...
Copy and paste.
Well, not quite, because that's the whole point, is that there's that small variation on every job that's what makes the difference. So it's about repeating that, but understanding why you're doing things different or what you're going to do to avoid a particular type of problem. The guys that are good floor layers are guys that have laid thousands of squares of flooring.
Yeah.
And that's really what our team is set up to do, is to just keep churning through those square meters. You just can't beat hands that know that. It's almost like you want the hands to have the knowledge and not have to think about it or overthink it too much. And I think that's such a fine line between being able to just slap boards down and not really know where you're going to, and versus somebody that actually understands that these are the particular things I'm trying to do with every single board. That takes a certain type of mentality as well.
So overseas we have things like proper apprenticeships. So you are naturally doing an apprenticeship through your company, bringing the juniors through the system. For somebody who is coming through the system, how many years or how long do you think it actually takes to actually get from somebody who's entering the game to somebody who you can leave on a job site and be able to assess a job site correctly?
Look, our site managers, the guys that lead each team, typically have been with us for 6 to 7 years at least, fitting floors on an ongoing basis. And that sort of has given them an ability to see 40, 50,000 square meters of
a whole lot of variations
in every type of setting.
Yeah.
And then you start that knowledge helps inform you as to the processes that one has to go through. And I think with floors, it's all about purposefully not taking the shortcuts. It's about following that process and figuring it out to a degree where you can just repeat it over and over again. But it really takes a certain type of mentality to do that.
To get into that.
Absolutely. And within floors, there are differences as well. So here we've got an engineered floor, and that's something that Eugene is extremely good at doing. I've got other teams that prefer to work with solid wood. I've got teams that love doing herringbone, little blocks, laying down 18,000 little blocks.
Yeah.
It really has to do with finding that little space. And there's some guys that, unfortunately just hasn't suited their mentality. It's just been restrictive because you have to follow that process. Some guys they want more creative jobs and more space to chop and change and figure things out. You're at risk if you start having that approach.
So isn't it awesome seeing professionals do their trade and deliver such an excellent end result? Now, for any professional who has a service that they offer, you got to have been doing it for 10,000 hours or more. And I think that's what we're understanding here, is that for yourself to aspire to grow, to become a craftsman in your field and to offer that service, or if you're a retailer offering that service, you've got to have craftsmen in your employ who've done their 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours of being able to put down planks in every condition, being able to assess the job site, and that 5% variance that Jo Brom has been talking about is that you'll be able to see it, acknowledge it, and actually work around it to deliver the value that the customer has paid for. And I think that's what an apprenticeship does. It helps you have that hands-on experience, and you can identify and be exposed to that 5% variable that happens from one job site to the next. It's not about throwing the planks down, it's about being able to assess that 5% variable that can make or break your job. Welcome to the Foreign Revolution.
Almost touching me.